Hello guys and gals, and welcome. So today is another episode of Rune Words. And what rune word are we going to be talking about today? Well, it's a rune word that we have actually touched on before in a previous video, although I have not made an actual rune word video about it. So we are going to do that now. This is the Runeword Brand, JahLoMalGul. Now, Brand is a very expensive rune word. With a Jah rune, a Lo rune, a Mal rune, and a Gul rune, there is literally no rune in the rune word that is not expensive. So if you're going to make this for a character, let me just say, you're rich, okay? You're filthy, stinking rich, and I don't actually have this. This is on a single-player character. A test character, as it were. Now, the Brand rune word has some very interesting effects, and we are going to go over to the website, and we're going to take a look at those effects and what the variables are, if any. So give me just a second here. All right, so we have Brand is a rune word for for missile weapons, and it is JahLoMalGul. Very, very expensive, extremely expensive, in fact. And when we look at this rune word, it's important to take a look at various aspects of it. So it has quite a few features on it, like the Deadly Strike, the Amplified Damage Curse, the Bone Spear, and it can have quite a few interesting uses. The Faith Runeword Bow tends to be more popular for Amazons, but there certainly are some very interesting effects that this bow has, and we're going to go over them right now. So first off on the list there, you see it has 35% chance to cast level 14 Amplified damage when struck. That's a 35% chance to cast, so pretty darn high. And of course, this does mean that you're going to have to actually get in there and let the monster hit you at least once or twice, but you will get your level 14 amplified damage, which is going to be pretty sweet. I mean, amp damage is double damage. It's a huge physical damage bonus, and if you are a physical damage character, like for instance a Strafe Amazon, it is going to have a huge effect on how much damage you output. Second there, we have the 100% chance to cast level 18 Bone Spear. Now this is a really weird one, and it is something that I actually built a character on. If you guys are interested, I do have a video. It's a Theorycraft video called the Bone Mancer. It's a play on words because it's spelled B-O-W-N-E, as in it's like bone, but it's also bow, so it's a Bone Mancer. And the whole purpose of this is to build the synergies specifically for Bone Spear to allow Bone Spear to do more damage from the proc on the armor. However, if you were a necromancer, so any class that is not a necromancer, and you put this on, how much damage would the Bone Spear do? Well, we can go take a look at level 18 Bone Spear, and level 18 Bone Spear is 179 to 190 damage. So it's fairly nice, actually. You're talking about a 100% chance to proc basically 185 damage. Let's do a small calculation real quick with a Strafe Amazon. So a Strafe Amazon can attack 10 times in one strafe, and that means you will get 10 Bone Spears. So 10 times 185 is 1,850 magic damage. And also keep in mind that an Amazon can pierce up to 4 times, and the Bone Spear itself can pierce as well, 100%, which means that you can multiply this by 4. So you get 7,400, and then you can also multiply the Bone Spears because they can go through multiple targets as well. And let's say you were in the cow level or something like that, and there were like a huge herd of like 10, 20, 30 cows, and you Bone Spear managed to hit half of them, so 15. You can multiply that by 15, and you're looking at something like 100,000 damage that comes out of your bow, which is ridiculous for one strafe. And of course, this is all theoretical. The monsters have to be lined up correctly. The Bone Spears have to come out in the right line. Your strafes are all going to be lined up, so it is very interesting. And believe it or not, it does work really well. And it is magic damage, so keep that in mind. It's not fire, it's not lightning, it's not cold, it's not physical. It's magic. So this damage is pretty much unresistible. and it is also something that will break immunities. So, for instance, if you come across a physical immune monster, the Bone Spear will have a very easy time killing them. Now, the question is does it do really good damage to single target? And the answer is not really. Because as you could see, it's a multiplicative thing through piercing, and the more targets you have, the more damage it is, and of course the damage is going to be spread out over multiple targets. It's not going to be focused on one particular target. Now, it will do still a significant amount of damage to one target, but it's not going to hit those really high, like 100,000 damage numbers or anything. Then we move on to the next effect, and we have here 260 to 340% enhanced damage, and that is a really high variable, in my opinion. You're talking about, what is that, 40 plus 40, so you're talking about an 80% ED difference between the top and the bottom end, and that's pretty sad if you end up with the 260, especially if you invest all those frickin' runes, the Jah, the Lo, the Mal, the Gul, for this weapon, and you end up with a low roll. It's just very sad. ITD is definitely nice. So ignore target's defense. What it does is it takes away the attack rating component of the calculation. It does not ensure that you will hit the target. What it does is it basically just makes it so that attack rating doesn't matter. And the other important thing about ITD is it doesn't work on monsters. I mean, on bosses. So when you're fighting like Diablo or something like that, it doesn't work on that. The interesting thing about ITD is that it does not account for the level differential miss problems. So if you were like a level 40 character and you're fighting like a level 80 monster, you're going to miss all the time, ITD or not. And the reason is because the monster's higher level than you, and the calculation takes this into account. And that has nothing to do with attack rating or defense. It also has a 20% flat bonus to attack rating, which is always freaking nice to have on a weapon. 20% flat bonus is going to just give you a massive amount, because whatever you've got, it's just going to stack another 20% on top. 280 to 330% damage to demons, while not super duper important, is certainly going to increase your physical damage to those demons, and it's going to be very, very handy when you're fighting, like Diablo or Baal or Mephisto or pretty much any of the demons in the game. It's something that people don't specifically try to gear up, but it is something that people like to have. We also have 20% Deadly Strike, which is nice to have, especially if you are a non-Amazon character, because Amazons do have the skill Critical Hit, which doubles their damage. But Critical Hit and Deadly Strike actually do stack together in a sort of a compound interest kind of way. So instead of actually stacking on top of each other and giving you like a double and then a quad, what they do is if crit rolls and it fails, Deadly Strike will roll and then it will try. So you will always get double damage as long as one of them rolls, but you won't get anything higher than double damage, which is still very, very nice, especially, like I said, for a character who doesn't have double damage, like maybe a sorceress, a paladin, any other character, like maybe a necromancer, who's a bow in the necromancer. We also have Prevent Monster Heal, which is absolutely amazing for preventing monsters from healing up. I believe it actually lasts 20 minutes when you hit somebody with this, so they cannot regenerate. It does not work on Ubers, though, so it doesn't work on Uber Diablo, Mephisto, Baal, Pandemonium Diablo, Uber Duriel, Uber Iswal, Lilith, etc. And it also does not work on mercenaries, so keep that in mind. We also have a knockback effect on it, which is absolutely amazing, by the way, on a bow. If you're any kind of bow character, you don't want monsters near you. It's kind of like the thing. So having the knockback on there is definitely nice, so that when you are attacking and when you're trying to keep monsters away from you, they will stay away from you. We also have a very interesting effect here, which is fires explosive arrows or bolts, and it is level 15. And if we go over to fires explosive arrows or bolts, and we look at level 15 explosive arrow, we will find out that level 15 explosive arrow is 146% attack rating bonus, 86 to 97 fire damage, and it has no mana cost, of course, because we're firing it from the actual effect on the bow. So when you actually walk outside of town and you fire the bow, you will see that even if you're using a regular arrow, it will just automatically fire these explosive bolts. So let's go to the actual character and let's take a look at the bow and how it works. So I actually have another armor on me, which is called the Bone Plate, that also procs Bone Spears, specifically for this build. But you will see that a lot of Bone Spears pop out. I'm going to go ahead and summon my Clay Golem and cast my little armor here, and we're going to go out and I'm going to show you how this bow works. And as you can see, every time the bow hits, it fires a Bone Spear. And I am using a regular attack, and the regular attack is also firing explosive arrows. And the Bone Spears are absolutely amazing because they are synergized with my Necromancer. So let me give you a look at my tree real quick. So I am running level 20 Bone Prison, level 20 Bone Wall, level 20 Bone Teeth, and level 20 Bone Spirit, specifically so that I can get the synergies, the 7% damage synergies on Bone Spear. I don't actually have any points on Bone Spear, by the way. And the reason why is because I'm relying on the Brand Bow and the Bone Bow to cast the Bone Spears for me on this particular character so that he can have some fun using a bow. Now, obviously, there are some better ways that I could build this character. It's going to take some time before this character is fully fleshed out. There's an entire Theorycraft video on this character if you would like to watch it. It's on my channel, and it's pretty cool. I won't go over the boring details of it. Now, what characters could you potentially use this bow on? The answers to that question is there's a lot of characters you can use this bow on. Using this bow on a Strafe Amazon would be absolutely amazing. Strafe has the ability to proc every single effect on every single arrow. So if you have any items on your character that have a proc effect, Strafe has the ability to proc all of those each time you fire a single arrow out of the Strafe attack. And Strafe has 10 arrows, so you can potentially proc 10 effects per Strafe attack. And if you are extremely fast Boson, you can just spam strafes and you can spam effects, and it's actually pretty amazing. You can also potentially use this on a bow sorceress. A bow sorceress that uses enchant would definitely like the fires explosive bolts. But here's the thing about this: it doesn't have any pierce on it. So for a character who's a non-Amazon, it is difficult to use this because there's no pierce attached to the bow. You have to rely on the only other piercing item in the game, which is Razor Tail, which gives you a 33% chance to pierce. And I really wish the bow had some sort of pierce on it, because as it is, it's only really useful to characters that already have pierce, and that is the Amazon. Not to say that 33% pierce is absolutely the worst in the world. I mean, having 0 pierce would be worse. But man, having a full pierce with this thing would definitely be pretty godlike. Now, if you put this on an Amazon, I can definitely see an Amazon getting a full use out of this thing. And it would definitely be good if you combined this with some other proc effects so that you can really get a massive number of procs per attack, like a Hellfire Torch, you know, perhaps I'm trying to think, like there's a lot of different items that have proc effects, and it would definitely be nice to have them. I mean, of course, you can use Gore Riders, which is definitely going to give you that that Crushing Blow, the Deadly Strike, and the Open Wounds, and those are also going to proc on every single arrow. You know, maybe you would use something like, I'm trying to remember, like I think Warmouth Gauntlets have 2 fire procs on them. I mean, you could literally fill every single one of your pieces of equipment with procking effects, build a Strafe Amazon, walk out and literally shoot arrows and do kaleidoscope attacks, which is pretty hilarious. All in all, I think that this particular rune word is just too expensive. Most people are not going to make a brand bow with their first Jah, Lo, Mal, and Gull. And even after they've been playing the game for quite some time, they're probably still not going to want to spend their Jah, Lo, Mal, and Gulls on a brand. So all in all, I think that this bow is a very interesting bow, but it is also just so freaking expensive. Good luck actually getting one unless you're rich or you buy your runes, or you've just been playing the game for 20 years and you're bored and you want to make a brand bow. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Rune Words. And like I said, if you want to check out the build that I made around this bow, feel free. It is up on my YouTube. And as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos. And keep watching.